What is up, my brothers, my fellow apes, my fellow sister apes? Today was absolutely beautiful, and let's just take a second to appreciate it and just look at this chart. Just look at this beautiful chart. It is a work of art, and it is just the start of what is to come, and we're headed in the right direction with this. Like, I can't like, I'm so happy. I just can't put words together because literally seeing the stock up almost 25% for the day is phenomenal. Let's dive in, cover the charts. If you guys can, just hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, make sure that you ring that bell for the YouTube algorithm. That's all that I ask. And if you want, here's a cute dog photo. Remind you to smash the like button. But anyways, let's hop here into the chart. So overall for the day, let's take a look at the pre-market because I want to take a look at the pre-market. I want to take a look at the after hours too because this is huge. And I say take both of these with a grain of salt, but the fact that we gapped up this morning was definitely a bullish indicator already for the stock. We gapped up from 1037 to, let's see here, about $11.01. So we shot through that $10.50 barrier, and we opened the day at $10.88. We had an intraday low of 1064. So we did an okay job filling that gap from when we gapped up in the pre-market. So we did an okay job of it. We didn't do the best, but I'll take it. And the other thing I want to highlight here on the intraday is the fact that we traded literally above the volume weighted average price, which stands for VWAP, for pretty much the whole entire day, aside from about 8 minutes. Incredibly bullish move by the stock. So that means anyone who likely bought AMC shares today more than likely made money from it, unless if you bought it here at 1420 and we closed at 1277, then you probably didn't. But if you bought it in the morning, you were sitting pretty because it was just printing money for you and just being amazing. The next thing I want to highlight is we had a couple of nice periods of consolidation here today, which was definitely good. We had very bullish consolidation here from our intraday high, which was really nice to see that we had it towards the upper end of this, which means it's very bullish consolidation. And the fact that we made a move and then consolidated is not a bad thing at all. Making a move and then consolidating and not falling all the way back down and then consolidating below, let's say where you were trading before you made your move to the upside, that is incredibly bullish because we want to have a rip and then we want to have essentially a pullback and then we want to have consolidation by that because that's what normal stocks do. That's how normal stocks trade. And this consolidation helps keep this RSI from being overblown. We want to keep the RSI from being overbought if we can. Now, when we literally touched 1420, of course it was overbought because today was just a volatile day in general. You can take a look down here at the MACD, incredibly volatile day. We had periods of less volatility because we had periods of consolidation, and it definitely has helped. I can guarantee you, if we didn't consolidate at all today, this MACD would just be all over the place and just overextended more than anything. Now, the after hours, we closed at 1287, which is huge because this 1287 has been a point of resistance for us today. So we can see here in the after hours, we got rejected off of it. Right here during the intraday, we got rejected off of it. We actually found support off of it here. And then we blew through it here, and then we bounced off it here and found support here too. So 1287 is going to be a very important number moving in tomorrow morning. What I'm going to be looking at during the pre-market hours is what are we going to do with 1287? Are we going to break through it to the upside and we're going to start seeing $13? Or are we going to have to test it and see if it's a valid level of support? We did a good job of testing it here today, but I could also see us testing it in the pre-market just in case. But I have a hard feeling tomorrow is going to be a very bullish day because I believe hashtag AMC squeeze was trending on Twitter today, which is insane. So along with, I think it was like Duck Ape or something like that. I saw that and all I could do was laugh. But really bullish MACD down here. Our RSI definitely is overbought, but I mean, our RSI is going to be overbought because we literally made a 24% move today. Just keep that in mind. 24% move is a very volatile move. Now, if we take a look at the past 5 days, today makes this little move that we got excited about moving up and hitting 1090 just look like a little wimp. It just looks wimpy. Pardon me, but it looks really wimpy compared to what we did today. And you can just see how bullish today was. We had almost 300 million shares traded today. Now keep in mind, Adam Aaron did say we own the 3.2 million retail investors own about 80% of the float. So keep that in mind. 80% of the float, we own it. Gives you something to think about. You can also see how volatile today was on the MACD. I mean, you can't move 25% and expect it to be a calm MACD. It's going to be a volatile MACD. There's just no way from a technical analysis perspective that you can move 25% and not have a volatile MACD. Now, the thing that I want to talk about here on the 1 month, 1 hour chart was I really have been harping and talking about 1222 and getting above it because that would be a very crucial point. If we got rejected off of 1222, which we did a couple times today, that wouldn't be a good sign if we got rejected off of it and then we essentially sold back down. Well, today we got rejected off of it. Let's see, two times, and these are 2 hour candle. This is 2 1 hour candles, and the third time we found support and broke through it. Absolutely incredibly bullish. We closed, well, essentially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 candles above that 1222, which is incredibly good because what we did was we set a new higher high. We didn't match this peak. We found a new higher peak, which is good. Now, the next thing that I'm going to be looking at, if we zoom out here a little bit more, is I'm going to be looking at 1487. Today we got the 1420. What we need to do is if we can get above 1487 and really get running. I mean, 1487 was done in the after hours, so let's take that off actually and do intraday. Okay, so intraday 1454. So what we need to do is we need to get above 1454. Because if we can get above 1454, and it can even be 1455, we've made a new higher high, which is good. We don't want to be rejected off of 1454, because if we get rejected off of 1454, personally, and I know a lot of you guys are not going to like hearing this, but I think we could go back to like the $9, $10 range because we got rejected off of it. We couldn't get through it. Now, if we get through it, the thing that I'm going to be looking at is how far can we go? Can we get the $15? Because if we can get the $15, the higher we get, the more and more likely the shorts are going to receive a margin call, which means they're going to have to start covering if they haven't already started covering. Now, to take a look here, our RSI absolutely overbought, sitting at 74.85. Our MACD bullish, awesome news. Now, the thing to take a look at that we're going to take a look at here on the day chart is our volume stick. Look how tiny all these volume sticks are down here compared to today. We traded 300 million shares today. Yesterday, we only traded essentially 54 million shares. So we literally, 6x our volume today, roughly-ish kind of thing. That is huge. That is absolutely huge. We have a nice bullish 15-day moving average. We have our 60-day moving average sitting right below it. We even brought our 200-day moving average up to $7.19 today on the day time frame. Awesome move. Now, the thing that I'm going to be looking for tomorrow is we're sitting at 1287. What are we going to do? Are we going to be able to find support? Are we going to have to retest it? Are we going to have to test a support down below? We might see those kinds of things during the pre-market, but remember, you got to take the pre-market and the after hours pretty much with a grain of salt. It's going to be, where do we open at? Where do we have our intraday low at? And where do we have our intraday high at? We can get our intraday high above 1454 tomorrow. We are headed in the absolute glorious direction of a nice short squeeze. Today, we took the first step. Getting above 1454 is going to be the critical next step, because I believe once we get above that $15, it's game over, in my personal opinion. We could get $15 and then we could easily just start running the 20, in my personal opinion. it's just my personal opinion. I'm a guy on the internet, so remember, I'm not a financial advisor. None of this is financial advice, and take everything I say with a grain of salt. Now, our RSI is sitting here at 67, 66, so we do need some consolidation tomorrow. Honestly, I think the fact that we had some consolidation today saved us from being overbought on the day time frame. The fact that we had those consolidation periods definitely helped us out a lot. We have a bullish MACD here on the day time frame, which is good because we had literally had a bearish MACD for the past, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. And then yesterday we technically had the point where we touched, and today we broke through it. So essentially the past week we've had a bearish MACD on the day time frame. The fact that we have turned this into a bullish direction is very good, because the last time we did turn into a bullish direction, we touched $12.22. Today we touched $14.20, so we are headed in the right direction. Next thing that I want to talk about here is the short interest. Now, the short interest change dropped 2.48%. Keep in mind, this is probably because a lot of people who had shares on loan just pushed them back and said, we don't want them because you guys literally, the retail apes, literally just moved the stock 25% in one day. And it's going to be incredibly risky for us because we're going to have to pay 53.73% of whatever short position we want to take to you guys as a fee. And it's going to be incredibly hard for us to be profitable because we have to essentially pay 50% up front of whatever the total overall amount is. That is huge because with this cost to borrow fee over here, sitting at 53.73%, makes it incredibly hard for the shorts to borrow shares. Now, I want to emphasize this. Tomorrow, I personally think that cost to borrow fee is going to be astronomically high because we made a 25-ish% move today, and it was sitting at 53.73%. The cost to borrow fee is calculated essentially by the amount of shares that are available to be used, which is none. So you don't have really any shares that are available to use, or utilization sitting at 100%. And then you're also going to look at your days to cover. Your days to cover is sitting at 3.99 on the 2-week volume. So keep that in mind. Now today, since we had a very high volume day, our days to cover went down technically, but it went from 4.27 to 3.99. So if we're still worried about missing out on the squeeze, you're not going to miss out on the squeeze because it's going to be a multi-day event, if not multi-week event, because I personally think a lot of retail controls the whole entire float of AMC and essentially will be able to dictate the price of it, which would be incredibly awesome. But that's just my theory, that we own the whole entire float. There's a crap ton of synthetic shares because Citadel decided to have naked shorts. So Citadel's only one of them, but I know that they're probably guilty of it in my personal opinion. But just keep that in mind. It's my opinion, not fact at all. But the shares alone sitting at 152.26 million, still up from 7 days ago. Days to cover still increasing. Cost to borrow still increasing. And we saw 3.01 million shares borrowed today and 6.79 million shares returned. So, oh, the numbers actually just changed. 3.44 million shares borrowed, 7.37 million shares returned, which leaves us with a negative 3.92 million shares as a balance. That is incredibly huge. What this is telling me is that the people who had shares on loan, more than likely, and maybe some shorts that were within the stock, decided to cover their positions today because it was costing them too much. They possibly also could have gotten margin call too, because when you move 25% one day and your cost to borrow fee is 53.68%, incredibly hard for you to be profitable and incredibly risky to hold that short position. So just keep that in mind. Also, the max cost to borrow fee was 259.47%. So some poor soul out there who wanted to take a short position paid 259.47% of that total overall position. Keep in mind that is annually, so that is incredibly hard for them to just have a short position that is profitable. Like, 25%, and they took that out today. They just got utterly destroyed. They're nowhere near profitable, which is going to be incredibly difficult for them. Next thing that I want to talk about is we all know that AMC had that 500 million share dilution that they were looking at to pass at the annual shareholder meeting. They took that off the table. Now, a lot of FUD was talking about this 43 million share dilution because it was passed back in 2013. A lot of FUD was focused on saying like, oh, this was just like discovered kind of thing. No, it wasn't. It was back in 2013. They completed the at the money market offering today, and they completed it at $9.94 per share. Raised themselves $428 million in new equity capital. Now, keep in mind, we heard at the earnings report that AMC had $1 billion cash moolah, money on hand. And that was the most that they had in a single quarter in the past 101 years of the company. Not 109, 101 years. And they just added $428 million of new equity to that. And they said at the earnings call that they were liquid and they did not have to worry about bankruptcy until 2022, in the end of 2022. And the shorts, the reason why they shorted this stock was because AMC was having a liquidity problem. AMC don't have a liquidity problem anymore. They almost have $1.5 billion sitting there on the table saying, all right, if we don't make any money for the next year, we're perfectly fine. No big deal. And we have Fast and Furious 9 coming out. We have Top Gun coming out. Apparently today was Top Gun Day, which is, didn't know that kind of thing, but incredibly awesome. And this puts AMC in such a good position. Now, the other thing I want to do is I want to cover Stocko Tracker. 101,486 options are now in the money. That is huge because we pull out our trusty calculator here. 101,486. I don't need to do the math on this. Times that by 100 is going to be 10 million. And no, wait, I should just do the math. I don't say this wrong. Times that by 100, we're looking at 10,148,600 shares in the money right now. Absolutely huge. Now, it is definitely possible that we could gamma squeeze, which would lead us into a short squeeze. Now, to remind you, what a gamma squeeze is essentially the stock is rising so much in price that what these market makers have to do is they have to hedge most of these contracts. They have to hedge for roughly like 50 to 60% of the contract just to have risk management. So in case if that contract does become in the money, they don't have to buy 100% on Friday. Now, keep in mind, with this 101,486 being in the money, if we just keep adding to it, and we'll take a look at the options chain here in Webull, which will tell us how many, where our next huge point is. So at $15, we would be putting another 10,862 open interest contracts in the money. We also have several at $20 that is 15,227. So the more options contracts that we can put in the money, the bigger and bigger this snowball gets, and the more and more that market makers have to delta hedge. So that is what they have to do, which would cause essentially a gamma squeeze, which possibly could lead into a short squeeze. So that is definitely one of the things that could happen. Now, the other thing I want to take a look at here is this: 0 shares that are available. We can confirm this in Ortex because the utilization is 100%. So 0 shares are available. And there was 1,000 shares available at 6:32 Eastern Standard Time, and they had to pay a 47.5% short borrow fee, which is insane, like incredibly insane. So you have to immediately make roughly a 50% profit on that to see a gain from that. I don't know about you, but a 50% profit on something that I have to pay, what, $1,000? Multiply that by what we're seeing at $12.87. So 1,000. No, let's just, I should just do the math on the calculator here. So if we do this, multiply by 1,000. So we're looking at $12,870. So you have to see an immediate, let's say, $6,400 return to just even become slightly profitable from the borrow fee. That is not even making back any of this $12,000. That is insane. It is like incredibly insane. That is a lot of money that these hedge funds are paying to short the stock. It's incredible. Now, the other thing I want to highlight is the ETF shares have been sitting steady for the whole entire day at 12,456 out of the 352,000, which tells me that any short shares that these hedge funds and these short position people can get, they're taking it directly from the stock. They're not really using ETF shares. So like this, I just want to leave you guys with just staring at this chart and just staring at this beauty. We made a beautiful move today. We made a move in the right direction and we're headed in the right direction. We got one step forward. Now let's get the next step. Get above 1454 tomorrow if we can. If we can't do it tomorrow, at least try to set a little bit of a higher high. Maybe get above 1420. Get to maybe, let's say, 1425 or something like that. So we can just continue setting higher highs. We are also setting higher lows too, which is incredibly bullish. So we are definitely heading in the right direction, guys. If you guys also have any questions or anything like that, feel free to drop a comment down below in the comment section, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.